Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Om Jnanatirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Jena Bhutale SyamaRupa Dasa Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shanyavadi Paschata Desatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Sri Sarabhyaya Namaha. 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 Mukam karoti vasalam tvangom langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our ongoing discussions on the most important subject matter of dharma, specifically varnashrama dharma. It is very helpful to always keep in mind when we speak about dharma that there are two main divisions or two main levels of dharma, and that we as devotees, we as followers of the Vedic knowledge must become very familiar with these two aspects of dharma. It is actually explained by our acharyas that we can better appreciate and understand the spiritual realm by first understanding and appreciating the spiritual realm. Means we can better appreciate the Creator by having an in-depth understanding of His creation. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example in this respect. In the first canto of the Bhagavatam, I don't have the exact verse, but it is somewhere in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, whereby, as we know, Parikshit Maharaj, who has been cursed to die within 7 days, is asking various questions to Shukadeva Goswami. And then at one point, among the questions he's asking, one of them refers to, my dear Shukadeva Goswami, can you kindly explain to me about the order of this cosmos, cosmology? What is the science of cosmology? How this world is created? How the planets and the universes come about? So in that purport to this particular question asked by Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada makes a very wonderful point. He explains that here we have a personality, Parikshit Maharaj, who knows he will die within 7 days. He has been cursed and he chose not to reverse this curse. He accepted that he will die within 7 days. Then Prabhupada is asking why, in knowing that he has such a short time, is he asking this question? One would think, let me just concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord and what is the spiritual world, what is going on in the spiritual world, etc. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point that a devotee, a pure devotee, an elevated devotee, sees the presence of the Lord everywhere. And this is a very interesting point that for a devotee, and this is a standing instruction given by our acharyas, that we can more easily appreciate the creator of this material world by understanding how very intricate and involved is this material creation. So, coming back to the point here, dharma therefore means these two levels, the spiritual level of dharma, which includes the science of the soul, Atmagyan, and the science of the super soul, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in addition to this spiritual dimension of dharma, we have this material dimension, which is very much centered on varnashrama. And that is why we have this particular series of questions being asked on the subject matter of varnashrama. The more we understand how very scientifically the Lord has created and established, and when we go deep into the reasons why we speak about such a simple thing as cow economy, there's a whole philosophy. There's a whole philosophy, very deep philosophy, very involved philosophy, which demands, once we understand this philosophy, a change of lifestyle. A lifestyle that will actually be in harmony with that philosophy. Just like when Prabhupada says, first is food. Well, ordinary way of thinking is, yeah, that's wonderful. Where's the food? That's a very shallow understanding of what Srila Prabhupada means when he very often explained first is food. By first is food, there's a whole very intricate meaning and understanding behind that. And it has to do with our first priority, our first necessity in life is to arrange our situation so that the basic necessities, beginning with food, are met. A hungry person, one who is overly distressed due to not being able to meet the basic needs and necessities of life, will not be a very good listener. He will not be able to hear the philosophy. His preoccupation, his focus is on very basic needs which are not being met. Of course, we induce or encourage everyone to chant the holy name, to practice Krishna consciousness, but there's a whole understanding, and it's also very, very scientific, and therefore anything that is scientific means there's a certain depth and a lot of things involved as well. We will go to our reading. Just maybe one or two small things before that. We have, in addition to, in connection actually with the Varnashrama College online initiative that we have been talking about, and for which we are preparing the official inauguration on the 15th of May, which is coming very fast. We have started a Facebook by the name of Varnashrama College Network. We've also, in addition to that, started our own channel on Telegram with the same name, Varnashrama College Network. Today I sent a message to the members of our group. Global Varnashrama Mission is one of the groups we have on WhatsApp, and we are very near to the limit of the membership of the members we can have on this group, and therefore I am reminding devotees who are on this group on WhatsApp to kindly migrate to Telegram, where we have more facilities, and those who may not yet be on our group, Global Varnashrama Mission. This has been ongoing for the last quite a few years, at least 3 years, 4 years, possibly more. And we have close to 250 members from different countries around the world who are very eager actually to participate and share all kinds of valuable information. So kindly take advantage of this facility, both in terms of this group, Global Varnashrama Mission, as well as this more recent website, Varnashrama College online, which you can find at varnashramacollege.com, www.varnashramacollege.com, and also the webpage, or rather the Facebook that I just mentioned by the name of Varnashrama College Network. This is really very important in that even beyond our own devotees, there are more and more people in the world today, especially with this whole very, we could say, awakening experience, eye-opener, that all of us have been living in the last few months with this ongoing pandemic, understanding how it is so important to reconnect with the land, and how dangerous and fragile is the present system, which is in many ways very very artificial. So therefore, in other words, not only are devotees meant to understand and take up this core aspect of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, but more and more people who majority of them actually have not yet come in contact with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, there's a need to share this knowledge. Things that Srila Prabhupada in this book, speaking about Varnashrama, is again and again explaining to us. So let us go to our continuing reading from speaking about Varnashrama, and this is in October, the 8th of October actually, 1977, in Vrindavan at the Krishna Balaram temple. And here are a few themes. The title, actually this is chapter 41. I wanted to introduce this. Live simply, grow your own food, produce your own cloth. Varnasrama spreads and sustains Krishna consciousness. Do it. No social chain, no social scheme can be successful unless Varnasrama is introduced. So let us go directly to the discussion. Actually, it's a short exchange here between Srila Prabhupada and Hansadutta. Hansadutta, one of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who actually just passed away just very recently. So Srila Prabhupada begins, no luxuries, live very simple life. We still don't know actually what is simple life. Live very simple life, and you save time for chanting Hare Krishna. Hansadutta replies, yes, Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada continues, that is my desire. Don't waste time for bodily comfort. You have got this body. You have to eat something. You have to cover yourself. So produce your own food and produce your own cloth. Don't waste time for luxury and chant Hare Krishna. This is success of life. In this way, organize as far as possible, either in Ceylon or in Czechoslovakia, wherever. Save time, chant Hare Krishna. Don't be allured by the machine civilization. Don't be allured by the machine civilization. Hansadutta, yes, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada continues, this is soul-killing civilization. This is soul-killing civilization. How true. People have no time for themselves, no time to think, no peace of mind where they can think. They are totally disconnected with their true self, disconnected with the Atma, with the soul. When we are disconnected with the true self, when we are disconnected with the soul, naturally, we are disconnected with the super soul, with Krishna. This is soul-killing civilization. This kind of way of life, especially European countries, Western countries. Western countries means America, Europe. Anywhere you can inhabit it. It is not very difficult. A cottage. You can produce your own food anywhere. Am I right? Hansadutta, yes, Prabhupada. We will do it. Prabhupada. And money. Spend for Krishna. For Krishna's palace. For Krishna's temple. For Krishna's worship. Gorgeous. As gorgeously as, not for false. This is the human civilization. And to organize this, Varnasrama will help you to divide the society. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, as there is division in the body, that will help. Don't waste human form of body for sense gratification. And Prabhupada continues. Prabhupada, we should understand, this is October, 8th of October 1977. Srila Prabhupada passed away in November 1977. 1 month. So these are the thoughts and desires that are on the pure devotee's mind, Srila Prabhupada's mind, even at that stage. Other references are there as well. So Prabhupada is telling here, I wanted to introduce this. Now I have given you ideas. You can do it. You are intelligent. From Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Para Upakar. So you do good to others, not exploit others. Any human being who has been bestowed by this body has the capacity to chant Hare Krishna. Give them chance and make situation favorable. Then Harisori is telling, the Lord Krishna is here, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada is asking, what meeting going on? Tamal Krishna Maharaj means some kind of meeting or discussion. Then Tamal Krishna answers, oh, very interesting meeting. Paramananda, Vamanadev, Tripurari Maharaj, Adikeshava Maharaj, and myself discussing our Gita Nagari community and talking about Varnasrama. We were trying to reflect on all of the teachings in your books and what we have read about Krishna's life and Nanda Maharaj's community. Prabhupada nods. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj continues, how the Vaishya community lives, how the different Varnas and Ashramas function together, and what their responsibilities are to each other. We're trying to set up our Gita Nagari community based upon the teachings which you've given in your books. It is very enlivening and stimulating meeting. Drishtadyumna Maharaj will be coming tomorrow with his brother, and he has designed a very ideal plan for all the Varnas and Ashramas to live together. And then Prabhupada answers, do it. Do it. So we will end our reading here, and we can go now to questions. Yes. Today we are on our 33rd session. So over 1 month we are having these discussions. And today is the 3rd of May, 2020. So we have a question here from Akinsana Krishna Prabhu from the Gulf countries. Dear Maharaj, the following statement by Srila Prabhupada resonates so aptly with the current situation we see in the world today. Could you kindly elaborate more on service to the different potencies of Krishna? And here's a quote from Conception of Gita Nagari, Part 2. The crises that we are now confronted with are the outcome of the wealth of the world that has been engaged in the service of the external potency of Godhead. The Gita Nagari, for those who may not know, is an essay composed or written by Srila Prabhupada in the early 50s that was published in his Back to Godhead magazine in 1956. And the core message actually of Gita Nagari, of the essay Gita Nagari, appeared in a letter written by Srila Prabhupada to Dr. Patel in 1949. That means 7 years before his essay on Gitanagari appeared in his Back to Godhead magazine. So we're reading a section of this. The Gitanagari therefore will be able to set a noble example for the benefit of the world, as it will show how wealth can be engaged in the service of the internal potency of Godhead and thereby bring peace and prosperity to the world. So the question is, could you kindly elaborate more on service to the different potencies of Krishna? Yes. We know that there are 3 energies or potencies of the Lord described in our Shastra as Bahiranga Shakti, external energy of the Lord, which is being referred to here. And also the Antaranga Shakti, internal energy, also being referred to here. And there is this third energy, Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha Shakti means the marginal energy. We as eternal spirit souls, we are that Tatastha Shakti. We are that marginal energy or potency of the Lord. We can, due to our being very small, we can be either attracted to the internal energy of the Lord, or we can be attracted to the external energy of the Lord. This is nicely described in the Bhagavad Gita as Daivi Prakriti. Internal energy means divine energy. Daivi Prakriti. And the external or material energy is described as Mohini Prakriti. So there's this nice verse which is explaining Mogasha Mogakarmano Moga Jnana Vichetasa Rakshasem Asurim Chaiva Mohinim Prakritim Shritaha. When we take shelter of the external energy, and this is what Srila Prabhupada is referring to, the calamities and the crisis we are experiencing. I mean, Prabhupada was referring to that, was saying that because we've been in crisis, actually, since the days of the Industrial Revolution. Our crisis has simply increased in this modern day society because of this major deviation. What is that major deviation? Giving all of our energy, putting all of our wealth and our time and our energy in this external energy and building up a false world, a world of illusion, falsely thinking that we can be happy by all of these wonderful facilities and commodities. As Prabhupada was also referring to, we read just a few minutes ago. Make your life simple. So therefore, the whole idea about Varnashrama is to utilize our time, utilize our energy, utilize our resources, whatever has been God-given, rather than utilize that in the external energy or for external, temporary purposes. Utilize all of that for the pleasure of Krishna, for developing our Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada was explaining, and it is being explained here again, that we can best do that when we follow the principles laid down by the Lord Himself within this system of Varna and Ashrama. The Varnashrama system is there to actually help us facilitate our learning how to live a more simplified lifestyle meeting our basic necessities of life. Prabhupada would explain, for example, in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, this was a special instruction I could understand to the householders. You try to find some employment, even if it is paying less money. You try to find some engagement, some profession, some activity where you can meet your basic necessities of life, and in this way have more quality time for chanting the holy name, for practicing Krishna consciousness, for advancing in devotional service. When that becomes our foremost priority, then we will be able to relate to these instructions given here, specifically in this essay of Gita Nagari. Instead of, just like in the Vedic culture, the Vedic kings, there was one main building or two main buildings that were generally very opulent. And we can still see this in a place like Cambodia. There were two main structures, and it was not necessary to have more. The two main structures that were especially opulent, number one was the temple. Kings, Vedic kings, they would spend huge amounts of money for building structures that would last for hundreds and thousands of years. We see some of these structures in South India, going back actually to Dwapara Yuga. And there was a whole science, how to build through Vedic architecture. That's a whole science in itself. Structures that will be lasting for millennia. Building with stones. So, this kind of knowledge is actually there in the Shastra. This is one type of building, temples. And the other elaborate structure that was there used to be the palace for the king. The kings, they would have, that was like their capital. There is the palace actually is very important because from that palace the whole kingdom is actually organized and controlled. You see. So our Vedic kings, our Vedic monarchs, because they had received proper training and education in this knowledge of simple living and high thinking, because the Vedic kings, every day, they would be practicing spiritual life. They were the actual representatives of Dharma, along with the Brahmanas, and they would every day perform their puja. Not only Brahmanas perform puja, those who are twice born, the Kshatriyas, the vaches, they all wear what we call a sacred thread. This sacred thread means that they are practicing the basic principles of Dharma, and because of their knowledge and realization about Dharma, they endeavor to actually direct, they organize the whole of society to encourage and facilitate the members of their kingdom to also take up and practice these principles of Dharma. When such a focus is there, then there can be real peace, prosperity, and opulence. in a country or in a nation. And that is the fundamental problem, which is being explained in this quote from the Gita Nagari. And that is why, just concluding on this point here, that is why we as devotees and we as a society must create such kind of models, very important, very often repeated and stressed by Srila Prabhupada. We must create, we must convince our own devotees. So far we've not been able to convince our own devotees. And that is, practically speaking, shameful. We've not been able to convince our own devotees to live in this simplified lifestyle and to depend on Krishna. There's a whole preparation, naturally, that needs to be there. But this was, as we are reading, in October 1977, Srila Prabhupada was speaking about these things. Do it! Do it! And the devotees, those leaders at that time, promised, yes, we will do. If we look at what is existing today, we are a far cry from what Srila Prabhupada expected. And therefore, for our own benefit and for the benefit of humanity at large, for the benefit of this whole world, we need to create and revive this more simplified Vedic lifestyle. And if we do this, then we will have a very different situation. So this is what is being explained here. When people, because of being misled, because of lacking in knowledge, because of being in Maya, influenced heavily by the lower modes of material nature, passion and ignorance, when they simply put all of their energy, all of their resources, all of their time, all of their intelligence and abilities in simply developing things materially, then we should know that this will simply end up in a chaotic situation, as we are seeing unveiling every single day in front of our eyes. So therefore, we should understand these important instructions that are given by our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Let us take another question here. And this is question number 100. We are reaching question 100. Hare Krishna, we should celebrate. This is coming from Shravananda Prabhu in Secunderabad, here in India. Hare Krishna Maharaj, how does cows and land help us advance in spiritual life? Short question. There's a long answer, but we'll try to keep it short. How do cows and land help us to advance in spiritual life? When we understand the whole science, there's a very big science, which is at the core, which is actually at the core and at the base of the Vedic culture. The foundation of the Vedic culture actually lies in these two principles: cows and land. Cows and land. Cows and land help us simplify our lives. Of course, most of us, when we start thinking about land and cows, due to our conditioning, due to our having been separated from cows and land our whole life, due to our being totally conditioned to modern urbanized lifestyle, we find it, we can't relate to that so easily. Therefore, we need to take a little bit of time to try and understand why this is explained, why this is repeated. again and again by Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, and why, when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially, we see all of the description and the whole philosophy and way of life when people were living this simplified lifestyle, especially the example being of the residents of Vrindavan. You see. So, our example is Vrindavan. Cows and land was the focus of the residents of Vrindavan. Cows and land were the focus of Krishna and Balaram. Balaram is holding a plow that represents agriculture, and Krishna is holding a flute that represents the cows. That's why I was telling some of our devotees here at SSKBK recently, you have to get a flute. You have to learn how to play the flute. Why? I mean, why? Because actually Krishna plays the flute. Why does Krishna play the flute? Because the cows are very attracted to the beautiful sound, to the beautiful melodies, to the transcendental sound vibration that comes out of Krishna's flute. The descriptions are there actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Nectar and Devotion. It is described that actually when the residents of Vrindavan hear Krishna's transcendental flute, everyone stops whatever they're doing. Everything in Vrindavan becomes completely still. All the cows, their ears go up. They are straight up just drinking in that nectar of the transcendental sound vibration of Krishna's playing on his transcendental flute. It is even described how actually some of the pregnant ladies have a miscarriage. It is described how even the Yamuna River becomes so captivated that she stops to flow. The river stops to flow. We cannot imagine. So this is part of, we're so far removed from what is village life. The cowherd boys, they have their own flute. Krishna is not the only one who plays a flute in Vrindavan, but he's the one who plays the best, most attractive sound vibration come out of Krishna's flute. So, the flute, the sound of the flute, is one of the ways in which to make the cows happy, to please the cows. And this is nicely explained. Society will become peaceful and happy if we learn the art and the science of pleasing the cows, of spending time with the cows. The cowherd boys, Krishna, and all of the cowherd boys in Vrindavan, they spend their whole day, not just half an hour or 1 hour. They go from morning, they take their lunch. The parents of all the cowherd boys and Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, they pack a lunch for Krishna and Balaram. And they go out all day, they don't come back. They come back in the late afternoon. So in this way, they develop a relationship with the cows. Living in the village means actually is based on relationship. If we cannot develop relationship with cows, if we cannot develop a relationship with nature, how we will develop a relationship with Krishna? If we cannot properly develop relationship with other devotees or Vaishnavas, if we cannot develop a relationship with Guru, how we will develop a relationship with Krishna? So Varnashrama is giving us that, when you're sitting in front of a computer, when you're dealing with machines all the time, what kind of relationship can you develop with a machine? You can't. We are meant to be surrounded by living entities, such as cows especially, and other living entities, and Mother Earth, and all of the production, all of the produce. Mother Earth is able to produce unlimitedly. She responds, actually, according to how we reciprocate with Mother Nature. She responds as a mother also responds to a child, isn't it? Just a few days ago, Rameshwar Prabhu and myself, just spontaneously, because I had to do a short interview in the context of our Varnashram college, I said, listen, we have to do a shooting. We took a chair immediately. We went. Rameshwar Prabhu chose a very good spot. The tree in where the cows are. Actually, one of the plots. Our land here is divided into 6 plots, and the cows rotate in these different plots. We have to improve on that. But anyways, they were in the plot number 5, and in plot number 5, there's only one main tree. And it was around noontime, maybe late morning. So it's getting quite warm. And the cows, actually they were not cows, they were bulls. So we have the bulls in one plot, and then we have the cows separated, naturally. So anyways, from a distance I could see, as we were walking, that maybe 10, 15 bulls were sitting under this tree, in the shade. So we just walked up there, put the chair, I sat on the chair, they didn't say anything, they didn't, one or two of them got up and curious to know, but we just, in a very natural way, just imagine if a cow herd sits down under that tree, with nothing else to do than to be with the cows, with nothing else to do than to develop a loving relationship with the cows, with nothing else to do than to play for the pleasure of their cows on his flute. I'm sure some of you might have seen some video that some people have sent around. Somebody playing some harmonium or playing some instrument in some field, and cows, although very far away, as soon as they hear this music, they start running, not walking, running. We have artificially, modern day civilization, so-called civilization, has artificially separated us from nature. Modern day civilization has separated us from material nature, has separated us from our own spiritual nature as well. And it all begins actually with cows and land. So that is why cows and land, when we begin to understand, it is such a profound, deep, scientific subject matter. We cannot imagine. City people just are totally out of it. And most of our devotees, in that respect, being also mostly city people, are also out of it. And that's why they cannot conceive, cannot think of relocating actually in villages. There's a whole new world awaiting those who will make this move this transition, this, actually for many, it will be a paradigm shift. Paradigm shift means it's like between night and day. That's what Krishna consciousness is all about, to make a paradigm shift from thinking in a material way to thinking in a spiritual way, from acting on the bodily platform to acting on the spiritual platform. That is what Krishna consciousness is all about. And it is part of Krishna's plan. It is part of Krishna's plan in order to facilitate that awakening, to facilitate the awakening of Krishna consciousness, cows and land, for the vast majority of people are essential. Krishna has created this world in this way, and Krishna is showing us by his personal example when he descends in his original transcendental form as Shyamashundar in the village of Vrindavan. And Krishna is showing us that this is how it is in the spiritual world. Chintamani Dham, the world of Chintamani Dham, Goloka, is full of cows. These cows are walking on land. These cows are grazing in the fields. So land and cows are there in the spiritual world. And that's the main activity that's ongoing there in the spiritual world. Why can't we begin to understand this? But just by talking about it, it's not going to happen. Armchair philosophy. There's a lot of that going on, unfortunately. But this armchair philosophy, in the context of varnashrama, is harmful philosophy. It will not get us anywhere. We must come physically, at least visit, and become connected with land and cows by visiting some of these projects that we have, by spending a weekend, or by spending a lifetime. Actually, again, we're not simply meant to have a few farm communities here and there. Even if every single ISKCON city temple tomorrow morning, even if every single one of these temples would have a farm community, that is a far cry from what we are expected to do. We as a society are expected to actually arrange society in such a way that the vast majority of people are living in villages. This is Vedic culture. And of course, the prime goal and purpose of all of that, as explained in Gita Nagari, as explained by Srila Prabhupada, as we heard a few minutes ago, is to facilitate our practice of Krishna consciousness. We have become so complicated in our way of thinking. So modern day society is very complex. That we have forgotten how to be simple. Simplicity evades us, unfortunately. So we have to unwind. We're too wound up. We're too cranked up in modern day society. We have to slow down, actually. So this stay-home policy is very good. Stop and think, stop and read, stop and reflect, stop and meditate on what our founder Acharya is trying to tell us. It is very good, actually. We should see it that way. And many people who are not devotees are also getting this realization, this understanding. Modern day world has developed in such a fast way, much too quickly, and in the process we have lost very basic values of life, essential aspects of our lives, both materially as well as spiritually, and therefore all of these most important instructions are given to us by Srila Prabhupada, especially in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, we should be hearing regularly, we should be reading regularly, so that we can purify our consciousness, so that we can attract the mercy of Krishna, who can help us. Without His mercy, actually, we cannot even understand the most simple of all instructions. Very often we will hear something many times for many years. Then one day we will understand what we're hearing. Just like the term varnasrama. The word varnasrama is there, has been there in the Vedic literatures, and especially in Srila Prabhupada's books and purports. And so many of us have been reading, but so few really understand what is the actual significance or meaning of all of this. We have to close again today. Please do visit our main website in connection with this Varnashram College online at www.varnashramacollege.com. We invite those who are interested to become teachers to register online, and within a few days, on the 8th, which is coming up actually on Friday, on the 8th of May, we will open up registration actually for students. And we have selected our director for admissions, Vishnurata Prabhu, and we hope to see many devotees register. We will be announcing the courses within 1 or 2 days that will first be offered. One course from each of the 5 faculties. That means one course from the faculty of philosophy, one course from the faculty of education, one course from the faculty of politics or governance, one course from the faculty of economics, and last, one course from the faculty of traditional technologies. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,